All right, so you might say this is a little dark, so I'm going to make it a little bit lighter. I'm going to use the yin yang at the bottom of the layer palette and choose something like um, brightness and contrast. I can up brightness just a little bit, up contrast a little bit, and now I have this. I'm going to save this as TIFF without layers. And usually what I do is I call this into the main folder as CM for color map. Go back to Maya. Let's make a new blend and drag that texture into here. For this, I gotta actually not use my Wacom drawing tablet. Okay. And then let's click and drag this onto the ball. Middle mouse button, click drag. I'm going to attach it to default. And then I'll attach this to the cube. And there's my rusty old cube. Okay, so the one thing bad about being on a Mac is there's really no way to make a good normal map based upon texture. You have to do that on a PC using a program like NVIDIA's normal map generator. So, I can't make a whole lot of grunge here. I can kind of falsify it a little bit because it is just surface noise. So I'll show you how to do that. Whoops. Let's go back to Photoshop. What I like to do here is go to layers. I should put that there. Hold on. I noticed my thing wasn't on the topmost layer, so it was only affecting the brightness and contrast of just a small section of it. So I'd fix that just by moving it up and saving it again. Here's how I make not a normal map, but a bump map based upon this. Yin yang, black and white. Okay, what am I attacking here? Well, I'm attacking reds. Okay, just like that. But for the bump map, I really tend to stay away from having white highlights on things. So on one of these layers, this one right here, I'm going to turn off those. And if you copied and pasted any other additional layer, like this one for example, if I zoom in, you're going to see that there's these white lines just appearing on these two squares. Well, what you could do is go to the burn tool, and I want to burn just highlights. This will take down those white edges. And if you can't get those, try midtones. Oh, I see what's going on. Protect tones is on. So I'm going to just darken these up a little bit. And don't be afraid to experiment with this because there is a great deal of things you can learn from the process. If I can't get it all, a lot of times I'll just take this noise brush and just break this up some. It doesn't hurt to go over the edges. There we go. Let's try that out. I also want to take it and go to layers and make another one called levels. I just kind of want everything really, dull, really, really, really dull. I don't want a large variation. In other words, like this, for example, would yield too noisy of a bump map. Okay. I'd rather have something like this. And then I will go back to layers and make one more of these things called exposure. And then I'll expose it down just a little bit. There we go. That'll produce something a lot nicer. So this is going to be one of those things where you got to kind of experiment. Not everything looks good. And now in here, I want to just drag that in. Now I'm going to attach that grunge to bump. Just like that. Ooh. So trust me when I say this, you could go a little overboard on things, so be very careful. And a way to turn down overboard is go back to Photoshop and adjust the exposure ratio. If you want to increase the layers, that's fine. At the end, you don't have to have that. So if I click over the top of this now and just hit my reload, you might get better results. Cool. Another thing you could do is turn down your bump map using the bump map node. And for this, for example, I can turn this down to like 0.25. Now you just get slight variation of bump. Okay, there we go. And last, what I want to do is a specular map. And what I do there is a lot of times I can get away with using this as a specular map. Okay, it's very strong, however, so I'm going to turn this down quite a bit. And for a specular map, I really do like having the white show. So it's just a preference thing. For example, I'll have these white lines show back up. Because you can see this thing is shiny everywhere. I just want it shiny in certain spots. Oops, let me go back here. I want to put that in the grunge cube. And go back and reload that in there. There we go. Okay, that gets attached to the material on the ball. Middle mouse button, click and drag, and that gets to specular color. Okay, now you can see that it's not shiny in everywhere. It's just only shiny on the corners. If I put a light out here in the scene, and hit 7, you can see what actually gets highlighted first, and that's the edges. And the little pits. So I know that's a really small example, but trust me when I say that work process works for anything, not just boxes, but everything. Here, I'll just kind of amplify that light so you can see. See how the light on the corners shine up first because that's the worn metal. All right. Meet me back in the next video and I'll show you how to render it real quick.